In this video help tutorial, we're going to be covering billing items as far as creating the billing item. In this case, it's the sales item. And some of the sales item information that is provided for this screen comes from what would be like an inventory screen. So we're going to go over there and look at that. It's the products, pet products and services. If we click on that and it takes us over to this screen, what we're looking at here is the actual record that was created in here by doing a new record. And what we're doing in this screen is we're adding a product. This record button does the same thing, adding a new product. It's pet products and service provided. Now, services and products can be things like shampoo for the dog, if there's a charge for individual, or some kind of liniment, or anything that may be used, Band-Aids or whatever for a pet, where you're doing whatever kind of task for that particular animal. But each time you create a record, it would be individual records for that particular thing that is being done. So in this case, we have a product or service, and this says wash and trim, large dog, long hair. And what we can do in here, it says large dog, long hair, and you'll see that there's a drop down that allows you to pick out those particular things as far as the pet type. Now this is a pet type, and this is a service that is being done. Now you can also create things in the services. For example, when I pop in here, so you can see it a little easier, you could have a short narrative in here for the pet or service. You don't want to make it too large because it has to show on the invoice and in the area where this is actually going to be shown. But what you would do in here is you would show a service or a task type of a thing. Maybe what you're doing here is trimming nails, or cutting bird feathers, or doing some kind of a service in your store where you're like creating a fish tank, and you're going ahead and adding the products that may be in a fish tank. So all of those things that may be listed that are for sale need to have an individual record in here. And as you look down through here, you'll see that the products and services, let's go back up here, this pet type is one of the pop-up lists that you're going to be scrolling, which is a sub-record for the products and services. There's another one for product status, another one for the rate type, and as you come across the record over here and look, there's a pet supplies and services that you have over here where you can make information about that particular thing as far as its usage, maybe something about its shelf life or something along that line. Let's pop out of the screen again so we can see a little bit easier over here. Down on the bottom you have all services, and then you have purchase materials. Now these are materials that are used in the process, say for example, that are related to a particular service that you would do, where it's a wash and trim, and in this case it says pets online. That's the vendor, and where you actually made the purchase of that particular commodity or item that you're buying that goes into this record. So every time you purchase something to fulfill the record in here, there's a purchase record that you're going to be doing that we'll cover later that has that item where it was purchased and what it cost you. Now you see there's a pound sign in that. I'll correct, that was a prior setting, and you'll see it's down here also. The record that you're actually doing in here that is done in the actual portal, you do not add it in this screen. You'll notice when I click on things, you can't add it in the screen. This is from the entries in the actual item that we created. And if we go back over to the business page over here for customer, when you're in the billing, that is the item in here. And if I click on this, it's going to drop down and show you the items that we're looking at in that record. And the information that you created over there is going to be brought over here. Now you're going to have to add the date. The cost itself is going to be part of the actual record in here. If you go in here, you can see that I put a $ value over here. There's $10, $14. This is a late fee return. We're going to just do any kind of a random fee that somebody has done for a late fee for whatever reason, and a deposit. A deposit would be somebody that comes in and says they're going to buy something, and you're going to put a deposit in there, and the deposit would be a line item that would come out on the invoice as a payable. Okay, the quantity and time, and I'm just pop over and show you that if you put a time in here and another closing time here, start and stop, it'll calculate how long that is for you in here under billable time. Okay, let's go back now to the actual record that we're working in for the product and complete this. So once again, let's cover what was actually in here. The rental, if you're going to rent something, you can put a rate in there for the rental. that would pop up as far as an item for the rental. If you have to jump from a input over to this screen to look up something, it's very easy to do that and pop right back over into the customer booking area where you're actually doing things. Now, as far as this record is concerned, you can go over and you can pop into the portal, and you'll see that it says Service Materials Portal, and this is the data that we created in that portal. We can go back over now to the services over here, and then there's a portal over here that has its portal record. Now you notice there's a delete in here, so if you make an error and in the record and you want to remove that line item that is on the actual billable screen, you can do this by deleting the one record, but you want to make sure that it's the record that you want to delete, so you can pop from here back into that particular billing where that record is the one that it's in there. There are cases where somebody creates a record and has a blank one in here. You have to add some kind of data. It doesn't make any difference what it is, a date or anything in there. Then you can pop over back over here and then delete it if you wanted that taken out of the billable items. Okay, let's go back and complete everything we were doing in services. You'll notice up here that there is a picture. Now what happens if you tap on the picture, any pictures that you have in your photo library can be put into this particular field here. Now if you have products and services and you're on your iPad or your iPhone, you can go out to a website, you can do a copy and come back in here, click on and say paste, and it'll paste that image into this field so that you'll have an image of the actual item that you're talking about. In this particular case, this is a service, and it is for a large long-haired dog, and that would not necessarily have an image, but if it were an actual product like a bottle of soap that you want to send home with the customer, then you would put that in here and charge him for it in the actual record within the customer billing area. Okay, so let's go ahead and leave this here. And the next thing we'll be covering is going down here to the pet product listing. And this is a listing of all the items that are currently in the product listing. And as we've shown you in prior screens, you can do the search and perform search to find an item if it's a long item that you're looking for as far as a listing. If you're looking for a particular thing, you have to have some kind of an idea what you're looking for. In this case, like dog shampoo, 1 quart, and it says its status is it is available. So you would have that in there, and there's a pop down here that you can set the status that says either pending, delivering, whatever. It's RMA if it has not been delivered and so forth. And RMA is a return authorization, material authorization that you would send back something to a vendor, or they would be crediting you for an item that was not provided and they only provided part of a shipment. They would still owe you some item. Okay, in this case, let's go to the next one. And we're going down here to the service appointment portal. In the service appointment portal, this is the individual service appointments that are in here for the particular screens that you're looking at on the actual client record. And this would be another place where you're looking at or looking for information as far as the service portal itself. The next one is the service schedule list. And what this is all the services that are scheduled. And this is a nice little way to, on this side of the application, to look for all the scheduled things that are not in the calendar. Calendar gives you a little bit more granular look as far as day to day, week to week, month to month, where this is going to be something you'd have to search on in order to find them. And then it shows basically a little less of the information. You'd have to actually go into the actual record to see who the record was for. And in this case, it's just looking at the actual services. Sometimes you want to look at a trend that's occurring. For example, what kind of things are you doing as far as the services? Like I want to see medium dog wash and trims, and I could look at that for a specific date span or date, and that's what I'd be looking for in here. Now, date spans aren't not available on the iPad and iPhone versions, but on the desktop and on the cloud version, they are available where you can do a calculation that gives you a date span. Let's go to the next one. And we're now in the service report. And this is a breakdown report that shows you all the information for all the activity that you have as far as the service report. This is everything that occurred, the type of dog, the name, the person, the date, the service type, the time that they were in there, the type of pet. Then there's additional information about the client as far as the client information. Now, what's interesting about this is that it's in by ID and date. So what happens is an ID 2, if they were, this is ID 1, let's go scroll back up here, ID 1, and an ID 2, if there were additional things for ID 2 where there were different dates that they came in, this would show you the different dates that they came in and had services done. So you'd have a running listing based on the ID and then on the service date. So it makes it simple. Now if I did a search and I wanted to search for a particular ID for a current customer, that would be the fastest way to see all the activity that was being done for them. And then if I had to, I could omit the individual fields that I don't want to be shown in the report. And say, for example, I wanted to show a balance that was due or something like that for a client, I could do it that way. And once again, when you do a find, you got to remember to come back in and run the report so that it puts the header fields, which are these up here, back into the record. Okay, let's go to the next item. This is the service materials. This is another report portal. Remember we looked at this when we were looking at it. It has a delete on it as well. You can do a search in here for information as far as the individual materials for the portal. And then the next thing would be the list for sales status, which is like what we looked at before. And these are the sales statuses, and you can add and edit these when you start up your application for the first time to add those items that you want to have in your list of sales statuses. And of course you can add by add record and then edit it. And the same thing for the next one, which is going to be the service type. Almost looks exactly the same, only it's a different kind of thing where you have, say you're doing training for a dog or whatever, and these are the things that you want to add. And any other thing that you may be doing as a service where you want it in the drop-down list for services that you provide. The next one is the list of pet types. You can have as many different ones of these as you want. They're in alphabetical order, so if you put dog, trim, and dog something else, they would be together unless they were different alpha. So for example, dog trim would be subordinate to dog shampoo or something like that. So you can add as many in here as you want to, and that's the way they're going to actually drop down in the drop-down list. So let's go to the next one. And the last one is the status. In this particular case, are you boarding an animal? Are you doing cat grooming, dog grooming, and so forth? You could put all of those in here so they'll be able to be available to you on your drop-down list. And as we've pointed out all the way through all these, make sure that you do not erase things or edit them that are already in use because it'll confuse your users or yourself. Okay, this concludes, as you'll see, and I'll recap, this is all the pet services information screens that we'll be using in the application. Not very difficult. A lot of these are just lists for this, and the one that might be one of the most important ones is the service report, and maybe the materials and the schedule list. These are the ones you're going to be using more often than the other ones that are in here, except for obviously the services when you're adding the services in the listing. If you have any questions, as usual, go ahead and pop over. Go to developer support, either start a chat, send me an email, or call us. Thank you for taking this video.